Hello, ladies and friends. It's the O Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, CW, and today I want to talk about future legends, not future Hall of Famers. That is a completely different category. We can all, point to current and, former, now, wrestlers who've retired or not semi-retired like John Cena or retired like Batista, who are going to be in the Hall of Fame in WWE or even just pro wrestling, quote unquote, Hall of Fame, even though there is no physical location for this Hall of Fame we keep talking about. And I think that needs to happen. If there was one thing I wish like a pro wrestling organization would do, I would want everyone to kind of unionize and create like a professional wrestling Hall of Fame, a legitimate Hall of Fame museum that's not just for WWE or TNA or New Japan or AEW or DSW or whatever for everyone. Every great pro wrestler should be in the halls of this Hall of Fame together, because they're all brothers and sisters in the business. But that's a whole other conversation. Anyway, we can all point to people like John Cena or Batista or Triple H or Stone Cold or whoever that is going to be in the Hall of Fame of pro wrestling. But who in either this iteration of pro wrestling, this era, or previous, will go down as a legend? Now, what constitutes a legend? Well, someone like Rick Flair is a legend, regardless of how you may feel about him. Some people don't even like Rick Flair, I don't personally think of Rick Flair as the GOAT, because honestly, I didn't grow up with Rick Flair being that guy for me. Like someone like Stone Cold, who calls Rick Flair the greatest wrestler of all time. He grew up, or he came up in the business with Rick Flair literally owning it. He owned the territory. He was the guy. Whereas someone else like in my generation would see Stone Cold probably as being a future legend, because he redefined the business for an entire era, I think. And I think it's a safe bet that Stone Cold is a future legend. He's going in the Hall of Fame, obviously, but there's going to be a time where he's like in his 70s or in his 80s where people will still be saying the what chant. People will still be reverent to the stunner. People will still pop for the glass shattering. That's, I think, a great indication is, does the person's music or moveset or presence generate a pop even when they've been out of the business for a long time? So Ric Flair's woo is legendary. There's but it's if you're a professional wrestling fan, you know what the woo signifies. Even when his daughter does it, it's not as impactful as when Rick does it. And at this point, when she does it, she's just using it to remind you that she's a Flair, honestly, because that's Ric Flair's thing. The glass shattering, it doesn't matter. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter what city you're in. It doesn't matter, what time of year it is. It doesn't even matter what year it is in general. If you are in an arena or you're watching Raw or SmackDown or a pay-per-view and that glass shatters, to this day, the place would erupt. It would erupt. And that's an amazing feat for someone who was on top for arguably 5 years? It was a relatively short run at the top, but like every documentary has said, when Austin was on top, he was on top. He was the guy. He was selling out every arena in every state every night. It didn't matter. The man's music would hit, the place would shake. He would cut a promo on Vince and then stun 42,000 people and then drink a beer and go to the back and make $1 billion. That's just what it is. But so I think we can classify Stone Cold as a future legend. But in the roster now, the active roster, I think is the the question: who will become a legend down the road? I think the easiest person to point at and trying to dissect would be Roman Reigns. But I think Roman Reigns, he's a part-timer now. And I think pretty heavily that once he drops those titles to whomever gets the rub, he's going to leave and he's going to be done. And I would assume he's going to follow in his cousin's footsteps and go to Hollywood and try to make a bunch of movies. Because, I mean, he was already in that Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw movie as himself, honestly. So I see him going to Hollywood. But his reign at the top has been, what, two years now? I don't know if he has the same pull as a Stone Cold or a Rick Flair or even a Hulk Hogan, as much as I hate to admit it. But yeah, I don't know how legendary Roman Reigns would be. I know he'll be a Hall of Famer for sure, especially with this bloodline angle. It's going to set him apart. But yeah, I don't see legendary status off of Roman Reigns. There's something missing. I don't know what it is. He's fantastic, and he's the top guy in professional wrestling right now. But I don't know how legendary he is. But you guys let me know. Do you think Roman Reigns would be, a legendary wrestler? I think Cody Rhodes is chasing that. I think he really, really, really wants to be legendary like his dad, Dusty. He has the potential because he is the kind of guy who would work, I don't see Cody Rhodes taking on a part-time schedule anytime soon, If he's back in the company, I feel like he's back in the company. Like, he already wrestled on Raw after Rumble. He didn't have to do that. And he even said he can take it easy. He can keep recovering and then just show up at WrestleMania and pack the house. But he's going to work. And I feel like he's going to work dates and he's going to be on the road with them. And I think if he keeps that up for a couple years, if he sticks around with the company and he's able to, carry the titles and potentially have like an angle with someone or a couple different people like the Bloodline have these days, he can potentially become legendary. He has a great story, and he said himself, he has to finish the story. Now, whether or not he wins the titles at WrestleMania is still to be seen, but I think Cody has the elements. He's following in his dad's footsteps, and his dad was a legend. Dusty Rhodes is a legend. No two ways about it. So I feel like he has the blueprint, and if we get, 20 years from now and say, is Cody Rhodes a legend? I wouldn't be surprised if people were saying yes. Now, what the spark of, a legend? I don't know how you would even classify something like that in some of the younger guys and gals. Charlotte Flair, she's maybe on the road to that. Again, she's another person with second generation with a blueprint to become a legend. I don't know if she commands the crowd as much as she'd like to kind of get that over. Becky, maybe. Bayley, there's potential. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the ladies roster and who can carry that legendary torch, because there's so many fantastic women in the WWE, but again, I feel like they don't get enough shine. Rhea Ripley, she's still young. Rhea Ripley's in her 20s. That's what I'm saying. This is the difficult conversation to have, especially with yourself when you're just talking to yourself into a microphone, figuring out who will be a legend. I guess in the last couple seconds of this podcast, let's see who I want to be a legend. I want Rhea Ripley to be a legend. I want Bianca Belair to get better on the mic and become a legendary wrestler. I want the New Day to become legends. I want future generations to pretend to be the New Day the way current generations pretend to be past guys from the Attitude Era. Anyway, who do you think has the legendary gene in professional wrestling? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for listening. Today is cardio day, so make sure you get your run in, and don't you ever forget.
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah.